Hi, my name is Mark Hart. Welcome to my home, Chilliwack, BC, one of the most beautiful and friendly cities in Canada. Chilliwack is also one of the fastest growing cities in Canada, and a large part of this is coming from an influx of new Canadian families, each bringing a part of their cultural heritage to our community. In collaboration with the Chilliwack Local Immigration Partnership, this video series aims to explore the stories of these newcomer families. How? Through the universal language of food, by baking together and breaking bread together. As a professional baker and owner of Rise Baking Lab, a small baking school in Chilliwack, BC, I'll be spending time baking with these newcomers. We'll dive into their culinary heritage, but more than that, we'll uncover their personal journeys along the way. Our journey will culminate in a grand celebration where the stars of the series, the newcomers themselves, will cater the event, showcasing Chilliwack's growing cultural diversity. Join me in celebrating the rich and growing tapestry of cultures that make Chilliwack such a vibrant community. Welcome to episode 4 of Breaking Bread. Today's guest is the Director of Diversity Education and Resources at the Archway Community Services in Abbotsford. Let's welcome MuhiBakini. Hello,
Hey.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's start things off with just talking about the recipe we're going to make. So what are we going to make today?
We're going to make Shakshuka, Sudanese. I will call it Sudanese Shakshuka because there are different types of Shakshukas.
Okay.
The most famous one is the Moroccan one.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference between the Sudanese and the Moroccan, which is like more familiar, is the Moroccan one is for our taste, we think it is a bit watery. The
Okay.
Sudanese Shakshuka is a little bit drier,
Yeah.
though you prepare it with the intention of eating it with bread of your choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of meal is this? Do you eat it is it breakfast? Is it any particular time of the day that you would eat this?
Yeah, it depends on where the Sudanese who is eating this dish is living. Back home, it's actually considered like you can eat it during the dinner time.
Yeah.
But here it can be eaten as a breakfast because it is very easy to cook.
Yeah.
And you can really prepare it very fast. But also, if you're about to go to bed and you feel hungry, also this is something that you can eat because it's also just lighter.
And you can just whip it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice. And is this something that you ate a lot back home, or is it?
Back home, not a lot because there's just variety of food there. So you would want to like eat as different varieties of food as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But here, time is really limited.
Yeah.
So this is something that I eat here very regularly.
Okay. Let's start off. We'll do some prep for the dish, and then we'll keep chatting.
Great.
So let's just talk about what we have for the ingredients here. So it's tomatoes, peppers, garlic. Pretty simple ingredients here.
Yeah, and the basic ingredient here is eggs. So
Yeah.
let us not forget that is the backbone of the dish. Yeah, but you can add any ingredient of your choice. But I really like the peppers because if you're really into fitness and working out, if you have a sport, they can really help with recovery.
Okay.
They can also prevent arthritis as well.
Okay.
Right? So it's not just the taste, but also the nutritious value that you can get from the dish.
And eggs and the protein and everything.
Yeah.
So how do we do this? Let's go through and see what kind of I have no idea. So let's go through.
So it depends on how much time you have. If you have time and you're preparing it after work, you might want to start with frying the eggs first and then add one ingredient at a time. But I would assume that we are all living at a very limited time.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is chop up all the ingredients and break the eggs and mix everything and put everything in.
And just let them cook.
Yeah, and let it cook.
Okay, and so let's chop some stuff up. What do we want to start with?
Let us start with tomatoes first.
Okay.
Right.
Is this now? I was purchasing the ingredients for this. Is this the right kind of, like, do you use a particular kind of tomato for these, or just regular tomatoes? I know there's like
that's a great question, because like for folks who are eating ethnic food, they would know that you will have to just work with whatever you find, right?
Yeah,
Because a lot of ingredients that you would use back home, you might not find them here.
Yeah.
But also it is an opportunity. It's like, I'm not like complaining about this.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
like, actually, it's good.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do that. How many do we need? Is this?
Oh, this is
plenty?
this is enough. So
Okay.
let's just make sure that we will be able to feed everybody. So
Okay.
4 is enough.
Okay. Yeah. Just
right.
grab a knife
Yes.
and yeah.
So the goal here is to try to chop it up as small as possible, so that you want everything to blend in, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And you don't want like big. This knife might be better. Let me see.
Okay, yeah.
Once.
And you will need also a very sharp knife.
Yes, for the tomatoes.
Yes.
We haven't been to the knife sharpener in a little while. So.
As I can tell.
So you're from Sudan,
Yes.
and if you wouldn't mind, while you're chopping, if we can do them both at the same time, tell me a little bit about what your just where you're from, and a little bit of your story from what brought you here. You're in Abbotsford now.
Yeah.
I know it's a long story, and also I'll just let everybody know that Muhi has a really great chapter in this book here. It's called Geographies of the Hart, and it's a bunch of stories from newcomers to Canada. Some very incredible stories, and his story is in here. And there's a lot of amazing things in this book, so you should check this book out. And if you want to find out even more about his story, it's all in this book here. Well, not all of it, several pages of it. I'm sure it could fill up quite a lot more. But yeah. So yeah, what brought you here, and how long? What age were you when you moved? And I know you've lived a few different places. So
yeah. So as you mentioned, Mark, I'm originally from Sudan.
Mm-hmm.
I left the country as a political refugee. I was a student at the University of Juba in Khartoum, the capital city. And because of my political/religious activities at the university campus, I got into issues with the Sudanese national security men, and I had to leave the country for safety.
Okay.
I left Sudan in 2004, July 2004, with my wife and our oldest daughter to Egypt, which is a neighboring country.
Yeah.
And I applied for asylum seeking in Egypt. We stayed there. I stayed there for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Before I had to flee again to Israel, because it wasn't also safe for me in Egypt. And I left my wife and our 2 daughters. So our second daughter was actually born in Egypt.
Okay.
So because I'm a Sudanese national, I could not enter into Israel legally, because Sudan and Israel are at the state of hostility for a long time. So I had to get myself smuggled into the country. About 2 years later, leaving my family behind, actually. 2 years later, we were able to reunite, as my wife and 2 daughters were able to also get themselves smuggled into Israel. And we got reunited there. Together we left, we lived there for 5 years before we were privately sponsored by 2 Canadian couples. One couple lives here in Abbotsford, and the other couple lives in Edmonton, Alberta.
Okay.
So we came here in 2012.
Okay.
May of 2012. So it has been, in May is going to be 13 years in Canada.
Okay. So you were a long time in between, though. How old were you when you left Sudan?
You're really asking me to do the math here, or trying to know how old I am.
I think we're almost the same age, actually.
Yeah. I 24. when I
24.
left the
Okay.
country.
And so you had a long period of being in between before you
Yes.
came here.
Yes.
Now I know also. Well, let's get back to the. That's enough tomatoes there.
Yeah, this is enough tomato. We decided first we are going to go with 4, but it's a lot, so it is 3 now.
Okay.
Hopefully it's enough.
That's good.
to-
Yeah, we can. It's just for we don't have to feed the entire audience. We can it's just a taste.
Yeah.
So how do we? Same thing with the peppers. We're just gonna
Yes,
chop them up real
yeah,
small.
but just half of it because
Okay.
this is really big.
Yeah. So I know from reading your story that and this is a big thing with a lot of guests on the show is that there's somebody or some people who really had a big part of your story in getting you here, in in helping you through. And I know you had your sponsors and that kind of thing, but it seems like you had kind of several instances of meeting them and coming back, and things kind of seemed a little bit meant to be for that. So yeah, do you want to tell me a little bit about that situation?
Yeah. I think I should start by telling you about how we came to be a family friend to our Canadian friends and sponsors.
Yeah.
So our sponsors' names, the husband name is Dean.
Yeah.
And his wife's name is Glennie. So Dean and Glennie Tweedle. These are retired Canadian teachers.
Yeah.
Who came to Egypt to train teachers at my school. So when I left the country, Sudan, to Egypt, there I actually found that Sudanese kids and African kids in general were not allowed to attend Egyptian public school.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was like discriminatory. For them, and I thought of doing something, and I started a center for educational center for kids. I can't call it a school because we didn't have the all the certification needed to call it a school, but it was an educational center, basically to prepare students by teaching them basic subjects like math, English, Arabic, so that because their families also were awaiting resettlement in the West. So it was basically a kind of education to prepare them for better education when they get resettled to the West. So I started a school there, and so most of the teachers that I had there were not qualified, they were not trained. They were educated, but not trained as teachers. So I consider some professional development opportunities for them, but also because I didn't have a budget to hire experts to come and train the teachers, I reached out to one of the international churches in Egypt. The church is called the Evangelical International Church.
Okay.
And they were able to link me with some teachers in the West. And part of that cohort of teachers who came to train my staff were Dean and Glennie Tweedles from Canada. And from there, our friendship started. Actually, I also ended up being a student in the teachers program because I wasn't even trained myself to be a teacher. And guess what? I was the school principal.
But I guess you have to do what you have to do in the situation. I mean, and if you're trying to get some education to the kids, and so they came and they were trying to teach you how to run the school, help run the school and do the education and train the teachers there.
Yeah, we knew how to run the school, but not necessarily how to teach the subject. So we're a bit lacking in subject matter expertise. So they were able to teach us how to be teachers.
Okay, and did you? I mean, a lot of the story ends up, and of your story is you did a lot of work. Whether translating or teaching English. Did you grow up speaking several languages, or how? Yeah,
I grew up as a bilingual speaker. So my native language, like my mother tongue, is Nubian. So Nubians are ancient Egyptians. So that was the language that I spoke at home, and also in Sudan, the national language is Arabic.
Okay.
It is a language that it was imposed
Yeah.
on indigenous tribes and communities in Sudan. And over time, it became the national language of the country, and everybody basically spoke it. But also, it was the language of instruction in the school. If you don't
Okay.
speak Arabic, you won't be able to attend a school.
Right.
And actually, my name Muhi is also an Arabic name. It means life giver. So yeah, I didn't just end up with Arabic as my primary language, but also I ended up with an Arabic name, an Arabic culture.
Okay. And when did English come into it then, or did you grow up speaking English already? Or
No, you
no.
can't.
Okay. Okay.
So as a child, I went to a Christian school.
Yeah.
And I got a little bit of exposure to English there,
Yeah.
but actually just like alphabets and ABC, this kind of
Yeah.
things. But also not from native speakers, right?
Okay.
I believe the first time I heard English from a native speaker, maybe I was already 20 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, but in high school, I really fell in love with English.
Yeah.
Because I just really needed something that is different, something that is unique.
Yeah.
And English just happened to be that for me.
Yeah.
But it was really hard to learn it from native speakers, and then the struggle. But I had a passion for.
But it really came into use for you. And throughout that, you were helping to translate people's applications and things like that. And then when you came to Canada, what did you use for your education here? You came back to Canada, you started working, and then you studied here again. I'm trying to.
Yeah. So as I told you earlier, I left the country as a political refugee.
Yeah.
Because of my activities at the University of Juba.
Yeah.
So I was studying developmental communication.
Okay.
And I was in my third year, just 1 year away from graduation.
Yeah.
But I had to just leave everything in search of safety.
Yeah.
So when I came to Canada, I couldn't use those education or credentials.
Right.
So I had to start from the scratch. But luckily,
this is kind of
I didn't take any English courses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I took a test called English Composition Test.
Okay.
Basically, just to determine if your English is okay enough to take university courses. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly, I passed.
Okay.
And I started taking university courses.
Yeah.
So I went to University of Fraser Valley.
Yeah.
I did a major in political science.
Okay.
And a TESOL certificate that is teaching English as a second language.
Right.
And I graduated with honor and distinction from
Amazing.
the program. And I got accepted into UBC for a Master's of Public Policy and Global Affairs. And my focus was on energy justice and energy transition and resource development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then well, let's get. Do we have to start heating up the frying pan?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get that going. Just a sec here.
Yeah.
It came
just
out.
keep the heat lower.
Just a little like.
Yeah. Just
like 3.5. We'll get it warmed up and then we can change it.
Yes.
It changes real quick.
Yes.
And we need some garlic and.
Yes.
How much garlic do you like? It garlicky? Two is
okay,
good.
yeah.
Okay, and maybe I can chop up. I have just these serrano peppers. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
With the seeds, you like it spicy?
I like it spicy, but let's not make it too spicy.
Not
just
too spicy
for the taste.
For general. Yeah, I don't know how spicy these are.
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, they're spicy. Yeah. Okay.
It's too spicy?
It's not too spicy, but it's pretty spicy. I'll take
English,
the seeds
right?
out.
English,
Yeah.
Right?
So then you went on to do something kind of different, though, with your career.
Yes, because when I did developmental communication, I was so young, and I wanted to be able to go to different villages in Sudan for some developmental projects, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But over the years, I felt like I was getting older. I needed something that I can do locally. So this is why I considered studying Canadian politics, and and Canada is a resource-rich country, so I considered a master's in energy and resource development.
Mm-hmm. But now you're on working for the what's it called, Archway Community Services.
Yeah, in diversity education, which is it has nothing to do with what I studied.
We were talking a little earlier, though, that I mean, education is there's no bad education necessarily, and it's something. Everything leads somewhere, even if it's a crooked line as to where it leads.
Yes, yeah. We talked about the goal of any educator is that a student or a learner will be able to generalize whatever they learned in the classroom settings to real life situations.
Yeah.
Right? And I think maybe I succeeded in that because in some ways I took something that has no direct relevance to what I'm doing now that I learned in classroom settings to apply it to real life experiences.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna just crack the eggs into a bowl.
Yes.
And whisk them up.
Yeah.
All right. I'll pass you that.
All right.
And here, I'll grab a little bowl for the show. There you go.
Thank you.
I like this technique here. We've had another egg dish too, where we had the two eggs just cracking each other technique as well.
Yeah.
So every technique of cracking the eggs.
Yeah, as long as you crack them.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay.
I need 3 more.
3 more. Okay.
Yeah.
And like most of the recipes that we've done on the show, this is just kind of a bit of an eyeball as to how many we're doing here.
Yes.
Is there a ratio or something, or no? Just
there's no ratio. It's basically it depends on your taste and and your preference.
It looks
so
like
you can move things around.
Looks like we've got like a little bit more vegetables than eggs here.
Yeah, but if you like vegetables, then you might enjoy it.
Okay, I've got a cloth here for you.
All right.
Okay, and we're gonna whisk those up.
Yeah, just add. I'll put a little bit of salt here.
Yeah, I think this is just.
And
then it corrects that. Yeah. So a little bit of salt again, just to taste.
Yeah.
And do you?
I will put more salt later. So
okay. Okay. Do you like things salty?
Not too salty.
Not too salty.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm a salt. I shouldn't be because I have high blood pressure, but I love salt. So and then the only real like kind of spice in here is we're gonna have black pepper, salt and pepper. That's for the seasoning.
I put already black pepper here.
Okay.
So
great.
Yeah, we're almost ready.
Okay.
So the egg is nice now.
Yeah. And what goes in the pan first?
The eggs.
The eggs. Okay.
Yeah.
And
sometimes I just put everything at the same time, but it's always good to start with the eggs first. So now I can add everything now.
Okay, and just toss it in.
Yeah.
And if you need to turn it up, it changes pretty quickly on there.
After adding everything up, now it's just time to keep mixing and stirring.
So is there something that we're supposed to be looking for in the pan here? Is it sizzling or is it a slow cook that we're going for on here? How do we know what temperature to be at?
First, you need to start paying attention to the tomatoes. Sometimes if it is too watery, so it means that you will need to add to make the heat more, to put more heat.
Okay.
So that remember the goal is to have it very dry and less watery.
Okay.
Otherwise, you will not be making Sudanese shakshuka. You might be making Moroccan shakshuka.
Okay. This is the key, is
So,
getting it
yeah,
to dry out while we're
yeah.
cooking it.
Yes.
Okay. It looks great. And is there when do we get it done? Was it just once it's dried out a certain amount
once it is dried out and all the ingredients are blended, like perfectly blended.
Okay,
right?
so in the end, it's going to be like really quite scrambled.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We won't. If we do it successfully.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't even recognize the ingredients.
Okay.
Because they're like fully integrated.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So it's not like eggs with vegetables. It's all together.
Yes.
Okay. This is good. Now, let's cook this, and in the meantime, you also you're also doing some work with the local immigration partnership in Abbotsford, and maybe tell us a little bit about that, since they're actually the ones that are not the Abbotsford, the Chilliwack Local Immigration Partnership is our partner in producing this, and it would be, maybe we could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So first, let's start with the concept of local immigration partnership.
Yeah.
So ideally, the federal government would love to see a local immigration partnership in every Canadian city.
Mm-hmm.
The local immigration partnerships sometimes are conflated with settlement workers.
Right.
But the difference is the settlement workers work with the newcomers and immigrants to the country.
Mm-hmm.
And the local immigration partnership staff, they work with the existing communities,
right,
to prepare them for receiving newcomers.
Okay.
But also we work generally to create conditions that are conducive to welcoming and integrating newcomers into the communities. Basically, when I say communities, it can be cultural communities, religious communities, but also institutions like universities, high secondary schools, hospitals, organizations in the city,
Mm-hmm.
like everybody, because the newcomers ultimately will need to interact with this organization and communities. We want the communities to know who is coming to the neighborhoods,
Mm-hmm.
What are their needs,
Right.
and how to deal with them once they come to their doors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the things, I mean, this is one of the things that they do, but what are some of the ways that you go about achieving that in the community?
It's a tall order, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it sounds like a big concept. So yeah, how you actually kind of make that happen. Like, yeah.
Yes. So one of the best ways to one of the identities of a local immigration partnership is the identity of community convener.
Okay.
Basically, we try to bring people together.
Yeah.
So this is why, even though I work for Abbotsford Local Immigration Partnership, I welcomed the opportunity to come to Chilliwack here,
Mm-hmm.
because the Chilliwack Local Immigration Partnership is also a partner in doing this work. So we are not just locally minded, we are also regionally minded. So we
Right.
wanted, we also prioritize the Fraser Valley region.
Mm-hmm.
So we work in close partnership together. So I knew there's going to be an audience here, and also the content of this is going to be widely shared. So this is one of the strategic opportunities for us to talk about local immigration partnership, but also to speak directly to the community members
Mm-hmm.
about
Mm-hmm.
the importance of doing this work,
Yeah.
which is going to be very important given the current context of like the trade relationship between U.S. and Canada, and how this is going to have cascading impacts on internally here in Canada.
So I mean, now is actually a super difficult political moment, I think, coming with everything that's happening in the States, and trying to, I guess, it'd be very important to keep the priorities up for this type of work in Canada to make sure that stays. I know that's something that's very difficult. There's a lot of those programs that are at risk now in the U.S., and this is such an important piece of work that you're doing. And so hopefully we can keep that everything going with that.
Yeah.
How do they operate? So yeah, so you have Chilliwack, or you have the community services, the local Abbotsford or Chilliwack Community Services, and the local immigration partnerships.
Yes.
So how does that operationally? How does that work?
So basically, the local immigration partnership in Chilliwack, their mandate is to work here in Chilliwack
Yeah.
to build the right conditions for newcomers to integrate
Yeah.
in the city, right? But sometimes they don't have to do it alone, right?
Yeah.
Because we are doing the same work in Abbotsford, we exchange expertise and ideas. So, for example, Kim, who works now with Jenny in Chilliwack Local Immigration Partnership, she used to work with me.
Okay.
Right. But also, this sector faces a lot of funding precarity.
Yeah.
And we need to share our staff together, right? So we want to make sure that the staff who have built expertise and experiences doing this work, we are not losing this expertise and
Right.
and ideas, right? So we exchange them. So.
So I suppose a certain amount of your work is also advocating for, maintaining the funding and everything for this work. I mean, it's something that has to be constantly, the importance of it has to be put forward to the community and that kind of thing. It's just to make sure the funding is there for these programs. And
yeah, with funding, it's really hard to advocate, but the best way is to sustain funding is to diversify, right?
Okay.
So the local immigration partnership is funded through the feds.
yeah.
Sometimes when they explicitly tell us that they don't have enough funding for particular projects, rather than advocating for it, we consider other funders, right?
Okay.
Because the clients and the work that we need to do, we cannot park it and then just advocating, right?
Yeah.
We need to very quickly, we need to pivot, find alternative funding so that we can continue doing the work. Luckily for me, in the Abbotsford Local Immigration Partnership, I also oversee the diversity education
Yes.
program that helps us also do some advocacy work in the community,
Okay.
but also have conversation around some difficult topics like racism, discrimination, but also some interesting topics around community belonging, inclusion, equity. All this conversation, we are able to have it because we are funded by the provincial government to do this kind of work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a very complicated, I guess, system to keep everything running all the time. And so this is a question that I ask all of our guests since the show is called Breaking Bread. What does it look like for you? I mean, either now or traditionally, breaking bread as a concept of sitting down and having community together through food. Maybe just describe a little bit about what that means for you, or what that's meant in your current life or in the past, or.
Yeah, food is a great connector, right? It is, and I think for me, food is one of the opportunities that we have to connect with people, and once we break bread together and eat together on the same table, I think we'll have greater chance of also cultivating empathy and understanding towards one another. And I think these are great cultural traits to have because, as I mentioned earlier, we do a lot of advocacy work around anti-racism, inclusion, belonging.
Yeah.
These topics are actually well facilitated and done when people have empathy towards one another. It is really hard to be anti-racist and to be inclusive if you do not have empathy, right?
Yeah.
But for us to build empathy, we need to find opportunities to bring people together, and food seems to be one of those connectors.
Great. Yeah. No, that's amazing. So we were also talking about coffee a little earlier.
Yes.
Yes, in a similar moment of, you were talking about the preparation of coffee and back at home in Sudan, and how that was it's not just having the coffee together, it's the preparation of it as well. And I guess it's partly also preparing food and eating together. The whole thing kind of goes together for building community and building that. And I guess that's partly a little bit what we're trying to do with this show, is, you know, the food here is about, it's really about the conversation, but the food is kind of the way to kind of get us there through this conversation and bring people in and create some interest with that. And so I guess this is kind of works into that food and breaking bread is really a great way to share community and, like you're saying, build the empathy there.
Yeah, actually, my mom, sometimes she's very disappointed when I tell her that I go to a place called Tim Hortons to grab my coffee from there.
Yeah.
Because she will just feel like the process of preparing coffee, which is really important and fundamental for coffee drinking back home, she feels like all that process is taken away. You just go and take coffee and go, right?
Yeah.
So now
you were saying you even roast the beans, grind it, and do the whole thing together.
Yes.
I think in my family too, I mean, it's not just about eating the meal together, but a big part of it is preparing food together as well. It's a great way for family bonding. It's a great way to have, you know, with friends and that kind of thing, is actually the preparation of the food, similar to the way that you're talking about the preparation of the coffee, can be a great place to build some community as well.
Yeah, and I think this is really important to do something while others are there seeing the process, because there's a lot of great things that we do for people, but because they don't see it, they don't see the efforts behind it, sometimes it's not appreciated. Yeah. So this maybe is just a reminder that there's a lot of good things that we do to each other, but because we don't see it, we lack appreciation for them. Maybe it's just a reminder that to pay attention also to the things that we do not see that are done for us or we do for others. Yeah, amazing.
So you have been, you know, in Sudan, in Egypt, in Israel, in Canada, and so I would imagine that you're, you know, I usually ask about, you know, traditional foods that, you know, either that you miss having here or that you can't have or that you try to do, but you know, as we were talking earlier, you've got, you know, a pretty diverse background of different foods. So, you know, it's probably a little bit easier to find, you know, something. But is there specific things that you miss that you can't get here or that are hard to get here? Or is there, you know, those kind of dishes that are impossible to get here? Or
that's a great question. And I think that is a challenge for smaller cultural and ethnic communities. So the choice of having ingredients to cook ethnic food, it depends also on the size of the ethnic and cultural community in the city. Yeah. Here, we do not, in comparison, we do not have a big Sudanese community, which also means it won't justify like having a business around ethnic food. Yeah. So, but for some ethnic groups that are really big, like the Indian group, for example, there is access to the ingredients, right? But also, if you're a person who left your home country and directly to Canada, you would also be more inclined to miss ethnic food. Yeah. But in my case and my family, because we have been all over. We left Sudan to Egypt. We stayed there for several years. And then to Israel. We stayed there for several years. And now in Canada, it has been 13 years. Yeah, there's no way that you can
don't have
all
one
this time
cuisine that
continue to miss that. But there's also a very strong memory with food, right? Like there are just some food that we're unable to just forget. Yeah. Right? Yeah. For those, we really hunt for ingredients, but also we try to adopt some ingredients that are not traditional what we used. Right? Yeah. So the tomatoes and the peppers that you have here, they're not exact much for what we had back home, but it's close.
It's close. It's close enough.
Yes.
Are there any Sudanese restaurants close, like in Vancouver or anything that you found?
There's one Sudanese restaurant in New West.
Okay.
But it's very small now.
Yeah.
But also, there are a lot of Sudanese refugees coming here, like resettled refugees. So the community is getting bigger.
Yeah.
That means there will be a chance for starting businesses, including like ethnic
food
restaurants.
businesses and having more ingredients available. And
yeah, this is coming along.
Okay, it looks like, it's definitely drying out a lot more.
Yeah.
Now this is getting Sudanese.
Yes. Yes. Very close.
Just get a little bit more water cooked off, and
Yes.
and so we turned up the heat a little bit now. There's a bit of a
that's good.
sizzle. Seems like it's getting a little bit more of the water quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. And now you were mentioning that you often eat this with bread.
Yes.
Is there a specific type of bread, that you would? I know here you probably just whatever bread they're, kind of probably not getting. Or is there more traditional breads that you can get here?
No, bread is the easiest thing to get here. So
Okay.
When it comes to bread, I think we're okay. We're happy with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. But also, we can. My wife actually makes it at home.
Okay.
So sometimes if it doesn't meet our standards, we can make it at home. So,
Nice. Yeah. No, baking bread at home is the best way to do it.
Yes.
I mean, it's not very hard to outdo the grocery store.
No.
Definitely, when it comes to bread, that's one of the things that's pretty easy to beat at home. And we teach a lot of bread baking classes here, and even if it's not the most beautiful loaf of bread, it's always delicious. And when it comes homemade, this is what I love about being a baker. Actually, is that everybody loves bread. Even people that can't eat bread love bread. I've met very few people in my life that are not bread likers. So that's great. So, this is looking really great now. This is really drying out.
It is.
I'm, with everything, Luis and I, when we bake here at the lab, everything we make, we bake very hard. We like everything baked dark and everything, really cooked well. But there's a range, because my wife likes the bread very light. I like it very dark, and I guess it's a similar thing here, that you can just, what level of cooking, you can go for on this dish. Yeah. But you got to make sure she likes it, I guess.
No, we're good now.
You're good. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, that looks great.
Stop it?
Yep. We can turn it down here. So it looks like it's done.
Yes, it is.
Okay, let's have some.
So it is done now. The shakshuka is ready.
Okay. It looks delicious.
Yes.
And if we had some bread, that would be a little better, because then we could break the bread.
Oops.
Oh, that's okay. Awesome. All right. Well, it's been great having this conversation with you. I think it's an important conversation, and been really great to hear your story. And thanks for being on the show. Yeah.
It has been a pleasure talking to you and coming to your show.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Then we'll just eat some.
Cheers.
Cheers. Excellent. I'd go for more salt, though.